Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family. What a unusual news day it is today. It should have been very volatile, but it feels relatively calm. Carney meeting with Trump in Washington, and the meeting, for me, took some very unexpected turns. And as I've watched the analysts, the pundits, the live streamers, the influencers, the reactions have been all over the map. That's why tonight's thumbnail is Trump, Carney, WTF. We'll run it. We'll analyze it. We'll do it together. We have other stories too. Chris Barber, Tamara Litch, freedom convoyers sentenced today. We'll have the details on that. We have a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit on the ostriches. No Supreme Court decision yet, but we have other information to share with you. We also have October 7th anniversary. And there's another story where you get very polarized views on the issues surrounding the anniversary, the war, and what might come of this attempt to bring peace by the Trump administration and other participating countries, including Canada. Like, it was a topic of discussion when Mark Carney arrived in Washington, and this is what it looked like as the president greeted Canada's prime minister.
Mr. Prime Minister, will you accept President Trump's offer for free coverage under
your message to Israel on the second anniversary of the Hamas attacks?
Thank you very much.
Will you talk about ending the trade war?
And that's that. Stay with me. When we come back, we will get into the meeting. It was unusual. Very unexpected, actually, for me. Not what I was really expecting. So, yeah, stay here because it's going to be enlightening.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
We are back. We're going to go to Washington. Well, not in real time. This is how it went down earlier today when Prime Minister Carney met with Donald Trump. And I have to say, I hate to, and I don't hate to say it, but I told you so. For a long time, I have been saying Mark Carney is not Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney, in many ways, like on the fiscal side, is more conservative even than Pierre Poilievre. A lot of people just mindlessly F Trudeau. And then as soon as Carney became prime minister, even when he was in process to become prime minister, he says, well, then now it's F Carney. Just automatically by default. But I kept telling everybody, you really have to look. Now, I'm not talking socially, all right? But fiscally, you want to talk about economics, you want to talk about tariffs, you want to talk about a trade deal. Carney is more conservative than Pierre Poilievre in many respects. Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor for a while. And Stephen Harper at one point asked Mark Carney to be his finance minister. If you look at the history and his background, his education, where he comes from, it is not surprising that Trump and Carney are getting along famously. Well, sort of famously. There's still some challenges, obviously, between the two. But I have to tell you, today's meeting, it smacked of a bromance, which will make some people really scratch their heads and go, what is going on? He might, if you want to save Canada, he might just be the guy to do it. And I'm not alone in saying this. I've even seen other very conservative, if you want to use that word, live streamers, podcasters, influencers, saying exactly that today, in a roundabout sort of way. People who have been like incredibly critical of, well, first Trudeau, understandable, because of all the mistakes he made. But even Carney during the election and so on, because of today's meeting, the tone has changed. I'll even show you. Here, I've got this one. This is a streamer who, in my view, at times is pretty extreme in the choice of his words and titles for his videos. It's kind of clickbaity sometimes. That's okay, I guess. You can do that. It works for him. But Mr. Sunshine Baby is even he's saying positive things about Carney. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? WTF? I almost couldn't believe it.
Is not proud to be Canadian. It's proud to not be American, which is something that I'm trying to break the stigma of, because it's completely misleading and it's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. Canada and America should be phenomenal friends. And it seems like, hey, our leaders are phenomenal friends. So maybe
he just goes on like this. And I was like, what the hell is going on over there? So there might be hope for the country yet. But you know what? I told you so. I did. Not that I'm a big fan of all the liberal policies, blah, blah, blah. But this guy, he is kind of getting the job done for Canada, I think. And yet different people are looking at this from different perspectives. And they're coming, the takeaways from this are all over the map. So you've got that reaction from a conservative influencer. You have, more left-wing social democrat type influencers like Midas Touch saying it was a complete disaster for Trump. Which, they're going to take that sort of perspective. And then you've got everything kind of in between. Let's work through it, and we're going to run this. It was a big day for Canada, even though I didn't expect any deals to come out, but and we didn't get any actual deals, or even a deal. But this certainly laid the groundwork.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister. And I'm very honored to do it because I liked him right from the beginning. I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have some natural conflict, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and your hosting of the various countries that showed up, that was a beautiful job you did, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, you kindly hosted me and some.
Okay, before we get into that, because he's mentioned October 7th, let's stop there for a moment. We'll pivot to October 7th, the anniversary, because that's also a huge story tonight. And we are seeing protests. We are seeing a wide range of reports. And again, different perspectives on this. So starting with, of course, October 7th, I thought I came across this report from Sky News that I want to share with you because it does put a human it peopleizes is, I think, the right word here, this story, and shows the impact that the attack of October 7th, 2 years ago to the day, had on the lives of actual people.
It is a place of grief and memory. The photos of those murdered at the Nova Festival dot the area where the gatherers were dancing on the morning of the attack. For the families of those killed, the suffering's endless. Every day they've had to relive the trauma. Mikhail Bitten's daughter died in the arms of her fiancé. They tried to escape as Hamas gunmen rampaged through the area.
After they found them together, dead, Eliran covered her. They were hugging each other and dead. And instead of taking them to the wedding, we took them to the cemetery together, and we buried them together at home. At the new home. That's the love story.
Every picture here tells a story of a life cut short. 3 members of the Rahum family were killed that day, including 28-year-old Nitzan, who was 4 months pregnant.
Everything is more complex, and I don't really know how to feel about this day, because every day we feel the loss, the pain.
October the 7th is the deadliest day in the country's history, and one that's left deep scars that have not healed. This has been a painful day of remembrance for Israel and Israelis as they reflect on the lives destroyed in the October the 7th massacre and the sense of security that was shattered. But it's also the 2nd anniversary of the military campaign that followed, and the battle, the fighting inside Gaza, is still raging. We can see massive plumes of smoke on the horizon from explosions, and much of the enclave lies in ruins. The ferocity of Israel's response has been brutal. Gaza's been pounded for the last 24 months, leading to accusations that Israel is committing genocide. It denies those allegations, but the suffering of the population is clear. The conflict has been a catastrophe for the Palestinian people, whose history is already a story of sorrow and loss.
My whole life has changed. The war imposed on us is utterly unequal and unjust, with tons of explosives dropped on unarmed people with no means of defense. The media may frame it as a war against Hamas, but in truth, it is being waged against the Palestinian people.
Negotiations to end the war and bring back the hostages continue, but the consequences of October the 7th remain unresolved. It exposed deep fault lines and reshaped regional politics. 2 years on, the question is, will it open a path to peace or deepen the distrust that's kept this conflict burning for decades? Alex Rossi, Sky News, Southern Israel.
And we're seeing protests and counter-protests. Stay with me. I'm going to queue up some other video. We'll come back on the other side, and our coverage of today's top news stories will continue.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Of course, we have protests in the streets. On the pro-Palestinian side, we've seen these students in Mississauga at John Fraser Secondary School walk out carrying Palestinian flags. Just an example of what is happening across the country, across the continent, around the world. And to add a little bit of, I don't know what the word would be, complexity to what we're seeing on the streets. Here's this, a man wearing a Crusader outfit, carrying a flag with a Jerusalem cross. In Montreal.
When a protest is deliberately led on the day of deep suffering for so many people, a day when thousands of lives were injured and lost in the most horrific way imagined, and many families are still grieving.
We're seeing a lot of people in the streets in Montreal tonight. And we will see what happens with that over time as the evening progresses. Back to the meeting with Trump and Carney. Let's bring that back up. Let's get into the trade aspect and other issues beyond October 7th and the anniversary of the attack.
My colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is many respects the most important.
The
what
merger
you traded
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United
you
States.
That wasn't where I was going. On this solemn day of commemoration of the horrific attacks of October 7th, for the first time in decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, this prospect of peace that you've made possible. Canada stands foursquare behind those efforts, and we'll do whatever we can to support
Very
them.
nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And many in the media focusing on that exchange about the 51st state of the merger, that word. How much weight would you put behind that? They're laughing about it. Is he joking? People thought he was joking before. Maybe he's making light of it now. Maybe he is joking. I suspect it is making light of something that he's actually serious about. That's my take on it. You can have your opinion. Maybe leave a comment in the chat. I'll maybe try to dip in there momentarily.
Very much. Any questions?
Is there any, what would it take for you to drop or lower your tariffs on Canadian sectors, including aluminum and steel?
Well, we're going to be talking about that with the Prime Minister. We'll be talking about tariffs. We'll be talking about a lot of that, but that's for a little bit later on.
As the Prime Minister
I want to just acknowledge our great ambassador. Is he doing a good job?
He's doing a good job.
Otherwise, I'll get him out of there so fast.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
In your opinion, why has Canada and the United States failed to reach an agreement up until now?
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade, because, we have natural conflict. We also have mutual love. We have great love for each other. I love this. I love Canada and the people of Canada. And Mark feels the same way about here. The problem we have is that they want a car company and I want a car company, meaning the U.S. wants a car company. And they want steel and we want steel. So in other countries, they're very far away, and there's no problem. You can compete and you can do. We don't like to compete because we sort of hurt each other when we compete. And so we have a natural conflict. It's a natural business conflict. Nothing wrong with it. And I think we've come a long way over the last few months, actually, in terms of that relationship. So when it comes to trade, the United States was always giving everything. They gave everything to Canada. They would let car companies leave here and go to Canada. But that hurts the United States. And, other presidents didn't see that. They weren't business-oriented. They might have been good politicians in some cases, not in all cases. They were bad at both. But it's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working out.
I'd say the language is softer. Are you noticing that? That's the way everything goes with Trump. I mean, you start way up here. The rhetoric is very caustic. It's extreme, but he goes from extremes to sometimes one extreme to another, but always to the extremes. And then you end up with a deal somewhere in between. Maybe that's why he gets he's been tagged with or labeled with the taco brand.
Canada has offered a lot of compromise this summer. Are you willing today to offer some compromise to Canada, maybe on steel, on aluminum?
Well, we've made compromise, and we've made some compromise even on steel. But, we have the same basic authority and the same basic, this could be also a little bit of a conflict with other countries all over the world on steel, because we want to make our own steel. We don't want to bring steel in for the most part, but we will bring it in, and we do bring it in. We continue to bring it in from Canada, but there is a tariff to pay. And I think that would be a normal thing to say, but we've come a long way. I think, Howard, we can truly say, do you want to make a comment on that?
Well, I think the opportunity to work together, but as you've said, there's conflict. Why do we make cars in Canada? You've called that out, and you've addressed that. So there are places we should work together, and there are places that we have natural conflict.
It's a tough situation because we want to make our cars here. At the same time, we want Canada to do well making cars. So we're working on formulas, and I think we'll get there.
Canadians are refusing to go to the U.S. The numbers are down like 23% in the first 7 months of the year. What do you say to Canadians that don't want to go to the U.S. now because of your 51st state talk, because of the trade war, the tariffs, and the fear of also...
Look, I understand that, and Americans don't want to buy cars that are made in Canada. We have the same conflict. So there isn't...
Yes, they do. They buy them all the time. They don't even realize that they're made in Canada or Mexico or sometimes even other countries.
Something that will get worked out. There's still great love between the two countries, but American people want product here. They want to make it here. Detroit.
Both sides of the Detroit River. That's not quite. He should learn his history better, I think.
Right now, I was just telling Mark, we have 17 trillion, but it's really much higher. That was as of.
And we lost a lot of production to Mexico too. Canada did.
A couple of months ago. We have over $17 trillion being invested now in the United States. And it's coming in with it's coming in for a lot of reasons. It's coming in because of the fact I think the November 5th election was a big factor, and I think the tariffs are a big factor. And again, we want Canada to do great, but you know, there's a point at which we also want the same business. We're competing for the same business. That's the problem. That's why I keep mentioning one way to solve that problem is a very easy way. But we're competing for the same business. He wants to make cars, we want to make cars, and we're in competition. And the advantage we have is we have this massive market. So it's a, you know, it's quite an advantage.
The Insurrection Act. That would be, you know, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing. The mayor is grossly incompetent. He's at a 4% approval rating in Chicago. He's at a 4%, lowest approval rating, lower than even de Blasio had, which is hard to believe in New York. I thought de Blasio would always maintain that record, but the Chicago guy is even lower. So I think that we want safe cities. If you look at D.C., you would right now, Mark, you could go out, take your family out to dinner, you could walk right down the middle of the street. There is no crime in D.C. When I got here, this place was a raging hellhole where people would come from Canada, people would come from other places and end up getting shot. Nobody's being shot. The National Guardsmen, unbelievable. I mean, they are strong, tough guys. You know, we won something at the Supreme Court, which is a big deal, merit. Everything now in this country is merit-based. I didn't think I'd ever see it again. And we have our soldiers are merit-based too, and they're central casting. And they walk through that town, and I'll tell you what, this place is safe. It's beautiful. Now we're in Memphis, and the same thing's happening. You're getting the reports. The bad guys are saying, we don't want anything to do with this. And we're removing many people. In D.C., we took out 1,700 career criminals and sent them back to the countries from which they came, mostly led out by Biden and his people that had an open border policy. And you know, Canada, you suffered because of that too, because they'd come here and they'd go into Canada also. So we're like a buffer for that in terms of, Canada suffered greatly by Biden and the open border, the policy of open border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. And these people were, you know, if you got 5%, 2%, now you were getting a lot of bad people. And come in through water. Period. If you want to know the truth, we're saying, does anybody go fishing anymore? The fact is, we knocked out, probably saved at least 100,000 lives, American lives, Canadian lives, by taking out all those boats coming in. So it's, and now they don't come in that way anymore. Now they'll come in other ways, and we're not going to allow that either. So we've done a great job on that, but on crime, Chicago's a great city, but you can't be a great city if you have murders and if you have a lot of problems, and they do. And they have an incompetent policy, just like they had open border policy, anybody could come in. They came in from prisons, they came in from mental institutions, drug dealers, they came in from all over the place, and we don't have that anymore. This country is becoming we're a very strong country. Look, financially speaking, I would say that because of the tariffs, because of the election, because of the policy, because of the great, big, beautiful deal, it's what I added the word great because it really is. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. We don't need another bill. It's the biggest tax cuts. I mean, when you think no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime for the people. But far beyond that, what it does is incentivizes auto plants and AI and all of the things that nobody's ever passed a bill like it. We don't need another bill. We don't need any more bills. I said, let's get it all at once. I was greatly helped by our Speaker, Mike Johnson, and by the Senate. I'll tell you what, John Thune's been, both of those guys have been incredible. And we got a bill passed that I said, let's see if we can get it all done. Because these Democrats are like insurrectionists, okay? They're so bad for our country. Their policy is so bad for our country. I said, let's see if we can get it all done and everybody said it's not doable. Because it's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of our country. And we got it all done. We don't need anything else. We got everything we want. And now, because of that, that's a big reason why the companies are coming in. You know, 1 year depreciation, 1 year write-off, 1 year expensing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So they're coming in from all over the world. But to have a great country, you can't have crime. And we don't have crime, but we have cities where there's tremendous crime. And Chicago's one of them. And if the governor can't straighten it out, we'll straighten it out. Thank you. A question for the president.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to know how come the UK and the European Union have succeeded to sign deals and bring the tariffs down, and Canada still hasn't been able to do the same?
Yeah, because they're not located right next to each other. It makes it, in many cases, it's much better and easier. But
yeah, and if I may, let's be clear about the relationship as it stands right now. We are the second largest trading partner of the United States. We do a lot of trade going across the border where we're cooperating. First.
Get a deal. And as this thing continues to unfold, the language here too is revealing the informality of Trump's language, referring to Carney by first name. He does it all the time. I'm not sure that it really means he's being friendly. It's I don't know. It's what would be the word? Improper, maybe disrespectful. He should be calling him, Mr. Prime Minister. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he means it to be friendly, but a lot of this is theater, even at this point. So what you're watching, keep in mind that there's a performance going on here. Carney is, I have to say, I think he's doing a very good job because he's biting his tongue. He's nodding. He's not disagreeing with the president. Just always agree, especially on things that really aren't that you don't know what Carney is really thinking. But if it's an issue that is
in agreement.
smokes.
I think it's going to be very important, especially when you look at the world, you look at what's happening. We want to have that protection. It's really amazing. The technology is unbelievable.
Why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out. Okay, ask the Democrats that question.
Mr. President, just to follow up there, I mean, the law says that when the government is reopened, that workers will receive their back pay. So are you going to defy the law there, or what are you hoping?
I follow the law, and what the law says is correct, and I follow the law.
Mr. President, will Canada be leaving empty-handed, or will Mr. Carney be leaving Washington with a deal on tariffs?
I think they're going to be very happy. We have a lot of things that we're working on that people don't talk about. They talk about, competitiveness. She's a very competitive person. And they talk about things that we don't necessarily agree on. But I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.
Mr. President, on all your trade deals that you've signed, there's been a minimum tariff that countries have got. When USMCA gets renegotiated, do you want a minimum tariff on goods between Canada and the U.S.?
Well, we're going to have tariffs between Canada and, they have them with us. I will say with our farmers, as you know, they went up to as much as 400%, 250, 300, and even one at 401. We found one having to do with a very small product, but it was high. So we've always had tariffs between the two of us, and actually Canada was charging us very high tariffs on our agricultural things, a lot of our agricultural product, and that's one of the things that we talk about for bringing that down. So this is a mutual.
The agricultural tariffs, ostriches, poultry. Just saying.
But we've been charged tariffs. Look, we're the king of being screwed by tariffs, just so you understand. And I'm not talking about with Canada. I'm talking about with countries all over the world. When you look at Europe, when you look at China, when you look at all of the almost every country charged the U.S., we didn't charge them. Because we were led by stupid people in many cases. Stupid people. They took advantage of our country. They're not taking advantage of us anymore. If you looked at European Union, they're all my friends. I don't blame them. I blame our presidents. I blame our past presidents and, business leaders. But we are the king of countries that have been taken advantage of for many, many years. We've been paying trillions and trillions of dollars and receiving nothing at all. As an example, prior to the deal with Europe, where they pay a lot of money, but they're happy and I'm happy. The deal was good. It's a fair deal, but it wasn't fair. You couldn't put a car into Europe. You couldn't sell your agriculture into Europe. You couldn't do anything. And now we have it so that it's open. We charge them tariffs. We didn't charge them tariffs a car. They charge us tremendous. I said to Angela Merkel once, I said, how many cars have gone to Germany from the United States? And she said, well, I don't believe any. And I said, you're right. You're right. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. And they're paying a fair amount. It's just a fair amount. It's not. I could ask for much more. It's a fair amount. But the United States now is using the same thing that they've used on us. And I just can't believe it's taken presidents so long to do this. And again, we're going to treat people fairly. We're going to especially treat Canada fairly. But I can't believe it's taken so long where we get charged and don't charge them. Japan was a good example. We made a deal with Japan. You saw that, Mark. A deal with Japan. It's a much different deal than we've had in the past. But they would send us millions of cars, no charge. We weren't allowed to send them cars. We sent no cars. I doubt you had one car go into Japan because we were restricted. They didn't want our cars. Same thing with Europe, same thing with other places. So now all we do now is fairness. But fairness leads us to the most successful country there's ever been. We have some advantages over other countries, and we do have a great market. We have an amazing market. But you know what? If I let this go, if we didn't win this election, if we had these people that were running, that were ruining our country, destroying our country with their open borders and men playing in women's sports and transgender from everybody and windmills all over the place, if we allowed that to go on for another couple of years, we would be, I'm not sure that we'd even have a country.
Trade going forward with Canada.
Mr. President, how do you see this?
By the way, I'm not sure we would have even had a country. And now we have the most successful country in the world. Brian?
Yes, sir. What is your message to Democrats ahead of a next vote to open up the government? The American people are saying, open the damn government. What's your message to them right now?
Well, they're the ones that started it. They're the ones that have it. And it's almost like a kamikaze attack by them. You want to know the truth? This is like a kamikaze attack. They almost, they have nothing to lose. They've lost the elections. They've lost the presidential election in a landslide. I saw the other day where Kamala said this was a very close election. This was one of the biggest sweeps that anybody's ever had. Won the popular vote by millions, won the Electoral College by a massive amount. They said, if I got 270, that would be great. But I got, I think, 312 or 315, and they got 220. So, we won that. But we won counties. The big thing is counties. So out of all of the counties, thousands and thousands, we got 2,500. They got 525. It was a landslide. And we listened, oh, yes, it was close. It was one of the greatest victories ever. And it was a mandate to do what we're doing. And I hope, and Mark wants this as much as I do, we are very close to making a deal on the Middle East that will bring peace to the Middle East. After all of these years of millions and millions, tens of millions of people being killed, there's a chance to bring peace to the Middle East. In addition to that, I made 7 other deals, and they're, great. And we're, things are happening with respect to Russia, Ukraine. That's one that last week, Mark, 7,812 people were killed. Soldiers, mostly soldiers. But 7,000, more than 7,000, almost 8,000 soldiers were killed. It's a crazy thing. I thought that would have been one of the easy ones. I get along very well with Putin, and I thought that would have been, I'm very disappointed in him because I thought this would have been an easy one to settle, but it's turned out to be maybe tougher than the Middle East. We'll see what happens with the Middle East.
Let's speak a little longer. I don't know.
Is the fentanyl crisis over with Canada, with the Canadian border?
Is what?
The fentanyl crisis.
Fentanyl.
No, it's not over. It's never. I think it's never going to be over, frankly. But Canada's worked hard, and they've done a much better job than in the past. We have very few people coming in through our southern border, too. We've worked with Canada, and we've worked with Mexico, so we've made it a lot better.
On fentanyl, any amount is too much. So we've gotten it down. It's down substantially. It's less than 1%, but it's still too much. It's too much at home in Canada.
A lot of people.
Yeah, we got to snap it.
On USMCA, are the two of you both committed to seeing it through in the renegotiation of that deal that you made?
Well, we could renegotiate it, and that would be good, or we could just do different deals. We're allowed to do different deals.
Just back to the fentanyl. Did you see what Carney did there? He inserted the 1% figure, which is what the Canadian government has been saying, but still agreed with Trump. He's a diplomat. He is.
We might make deals that are better for the individual.
What's your preference?
Countries. I don't care. I want to make whatever the best deal is for this country, and also very much with Canada in mind. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, on China, what work can the United States and Canada do together to counter China?
Well, you have to be able to compete. They're a great competitor, and Mark and I both know that, and you have to be able to compete. We have big advantages over China for lots of different reasons, and I think we're doing very well with China. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to be meeting him in a few weeks, as you know. I'll be meeting him in South Korea, but we've had a very good relationship for a long time. But you have to be able to compete. To do well with China, if you can't compete, you're not going to do well with China. And Canada is very competitive. I can tell you that. Canada is a very competitive country. And I think Canada's done very well over the years with China.
Yeah, we have. But we'll do better together
on
that.
Mr. President.
What guarantees are you giving your Arab partners that Israel will not resume its offensive after the hostages are released?
Well, the primary guarantee is once this deal happens, if it does happen, look, they're in negotiations right now, we are going to do everything possible. We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything.
And, you know, I just stop for a moment. I said during the leadership campaign for the Liberal Party that I sort of hoped that Chrystia Freeland would win, just so that if she became prime minister, she could go down and irritate Trump because he just hates her. But as I'm sitting here watching this tonight, I think it's probably good that she didn't win the leadership race and then end up as prime minister, because I don't think the conversation would be the same at all if it were her sitting there next to Trump instead of Carney, just as it would be really bad if it was still Trudeau.
Everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal. Okay?
Are you concerned about the delays at airports, and how do you see this shutdown ending?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's they're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do. And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is. I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC talking about how if they want to negotiate, they can come to my office. She's not in that position to do that. And who the hell is she to say that? And then I watch Nancy Pelosi not knowing what to do. I watch their leadership. Look, Schumer is petrified of primary because he's not going to win probably against anybody in a primary. You know, Schumer did the right thing, but he handled it badly originally a year ago. He did probably the right thing, but he handled it badly. I think Schumer's incapable of making a deal. They are a mess. They're a party that has no leadership. They have, and they have no policy. You know, I think we have great leadership, but we also have great policy. We have strong borders. We have no men and women's sports. I mean, basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped. And we have a country that's based on common sense and strength and intelligence. I mean, we have the United States of America, and I say it all the time. Other leaders have told me this. Mark hasn't yet, but I think he would. A year ago, we were a dead country, and now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. Maybe Canada. I'll give Canada, but because I do like Canada. But you know, we're the hottest country in the world right now. There's never been a country that has the kind of money coming into it. There's never been anything like this. There has never been a country that if you take $1 trillion, that would be unbelievable. We're going to have over $20 trillion invested in this country. There's never been anything like what you're seeing, and it's based on good policy and common sense and leadership. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is Canada giving you in return? If you say Mr. Carney is going to be leaving Washington happy, what's Canada giving you in return?
Well, you'll find out, but I think the people of Canada, they will love us again. Most of them still do. But if you say only 25%, I assume a lot of them, I think they love us. And you know what? I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but I like it a lot. And I watched some of the greatest hockey games I've ever. How good were those games, right?
Yeah, very good. Mm-hmm. We're coming down for the World Series, Mr. President.
Okay. By the way, you
Canada that doesn't include supply managed goods like dairy, for example? If the federal government said that's off the table.
Well, if it would include dairy, I mean, it's going to include everything. We'll do a comprehensive.
What about the ostriches?
Programs to eliminate under this shutdown?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Which ones?
We have a lot. I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say, but because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they've handed it, on a silver platter. And Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person, and he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things. And this is something that was handed to us by, I assume, Schumer. I just don't know if Schumer has any power anymore. I look at your leadership. I don't know who to speak to. I'll tell you what. I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leaders. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, okay? And I met the president of Somalia. I told him about the problem he's got. I said, you have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our country. She's from Somalia. He said, would you like to take her back? He said, no, I don't want her. Okay, you know what I'm talking about?
What workers are you talking about?
Say it again.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about to eliminate?
Well, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on. If this keeps going on, it'll be substantial. And a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're going to have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
Is there anything the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult to reach a deal?
Say it?
Is there anything that the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult or easier to reach a deal?
Keeps agreeing with me.
I think he's a great Prime Minister. I mean, he could represent me anytime. I will tell you, I'm not saying that because... No, he is a very strong, very good leader. He's a nice man, but he can be nasty. He can be very nasty. Maybe as nasty as anybody.
How?
I think Canada, let me put it this way, I can tell you this because I deal with lots of leaders all over the world. He is a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants, and I'm not surprised to see that he won the election and won it substantially, and I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too. Thank you very much. Thank you. That could have been Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oops, hang on. There we go. And he laughs at Trump's jokes too, so scores points that way. That's real diplomacy. Just nod, laugh, slap your knee. Well, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. It is better that Chrystia Freeland wasn't there. I don't know how it would go if Pierre Poilievre had been elected. I don't know. Similarly, maybe we'll never know because like streamers have been criticizing Poilievre of late. Actually, the same guys who were pretty clearly deeply entrenched and heels dug into the conservative camp during the election, and Poilievre at the time could do no wrong. He was the wonder boy until he blew the election. Now, and I've noticed that the ostrich thing, the stupid ostriches, because of that, a whole bunch of the conservative faithful streamers have come out very critical of Poilievre. Speaking of the ostriches, I think, personally, I think that they should send the ostriches straight to the White House. They should put them all. They should let them all live around the new patio area where they basically paved over the rose garden, and it would be much more decorative than, say, pink flamingos, and it would be a big attraction because then you could turn it into like an ostrich petting zoo. You could have world leaders come ride the ostriches. hanging out in the new Trump patio at the White House with they could rename it, I don't know, the ostrich deck or something like that. Anyway, we'll be back on the other side.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith today. Talking trade, talking tariffs, blah, blah, blah. Also talking about separatism, asked about separation affecting the economy and investor confidence, and asked today in a news conference if she thinks it's appropriate for, say, about 200,000 people to hold enough power to really trigger what essentially may result in a review of whether Canada should even remain a country. Here she is answering the question.
Global investors, when you've sort of put Alberta on the path to a referendum, and one that, you know, has legal questions around the legitimacy of 200,000 people putting the fate of a G7 country up to a coin toss, you know, legal questions around whether it adheres to the Clarity Act, international law around the recognition of nations, indigenous land title, and the experience of Quebec and its success or lack of success in seeking independence. How can you be confident this is a proper way of proceeding?
Well, as you know, I haven't done that. I've been supporting a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. Thomas Lukasik is the person who's behind that petition campaign. And from what I'm reading, he sounds like he's gotten 200,000 signatures. So it may well be that he gets enough signatures for it to be able to put to a vote. It's also, he's operating on the old rules, which were having a higher bar and a lower period to collect. So that law was in place before I got in. So I would say that I'm watching it with great interest, and I've told Prime Minister Mark Carney that Justin Trudeau created an independence movement in Alberta, and he can take the wind out of it. All he has to do is just address the 9 bad laws that have depressed our economy for the past 10 years. And when I worry about investment capital, yeah, I'm really worried that we're going to have in the future the same 10 bad years that we had over the last 10 bad years because of the federal Liberal policies. So I would say that that's been the biggest depression to investment capital in our province. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get to an agreement by mid-November so that we can turn the page on that.
Investor confidence. I have a friend. Several friends actually, but I have a friend who invests in a lot of different businesses. He always looking for new ventures. He's always playing the stock market. And I spoke to him yesterday. We just had a casual conversation on the phone, and that's exactly what he was talking about. Confidence. He says the whole problem with the economy right now, and he's quite right, is uncertainty. People don't know what's coming. So as a result, people are holding onto their wallets. If you're a business, you're cutting costs. You are trying to insulate your business from the storm that may be just around the corner. If you are a consumer, and he's quite right again, because I'm seeing reports within the last day saying that surveys indicate consumers in Canada, I'm talking about Canada now, I think the US probably is similar, but in Canada, consumers are saying in surveys that they intend to spend a lot less during the Christmas season this year. Also speaking to some people who are out there within the last week pursuing temporary Christmas jobs at retail stores. So there is some employment out there coming forth as retail operations. Those that have survived the onslaught of the online retail business and the emergence of digital retailing, there are still some actual retail stores surviving, offering Christmas employment. So if you're looking for a job, that's where you can go start to look in the weeks ahead, because I was talking to somebody just this morning who went for a job interview at I think it was an Indigo store. So bricks and mortars bookstores still actually in existence. Actually, there was another job I took note of even here in my hometown, sort of a cafe where they have it's a book, like a place with books where you can go read books. They have all kinds of events and they play board games and tournaments, and it's a unique little place. And I thought I've only been in there one other time. I think it recently changed hands. Maybe I'll go down there and check that place out. They were looking for some help as well. So there are jobs out there. The economy is still humming along, but it's the uncertainty that is dragging everything down. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, just this week again, hammering away at the alcohol industry, using the LCBO as a tool to try to put pressure on Diageo, which has this bottling plant in Amherstburg. They're going to shut that down. He's looking at Smirnoff's. He's now commenting today on what happened with the meeting between Trump and Carney, and he has been, I'd say he's sort of like the bad cop. Carney's been the good cop. I don't know how much of all of that is theatrics, but he advised Carney going into today's meeting that he needs to go harder on Trump. Let's just roll some of this and see what he had to say.
Well, hello, everyone. And today, I guess, is a big day for Canada and the U.S., and I look forward to speaking to the Prime Minister, and all the premiers do, after the meeting with President Trump. But there has to be a point that if Prime Minister Carney can't get a deal, we have to start hitting back. We need to hit back hard. We can't continuously decline tariffs, and President Trump increases tariffs, no matter if it's 10% on our lumber industry, softwood lumber, or if it's 25% on furniture
heavy
or cabinets. I visit a lot of furniture companies and cabinet manufacturers, and I know one thing: we buy a tremendous amount of furniture off the U.S. and as well as cabinets, but we also ship cabinets down to the U.S. But we can't just keep rolling over to President Trump. As he strengthens his case, we seem to be weakening our case by continuously pulling off tariffs. I'd take a different approach. Try to get a deal. If you can't, we got to hit him back hard, and never stop hitting him back hard, because we can never take a back seat to anyone, especially President Trump. We have a great country, resilient country, a powerful economically, we're powerful. The U.S. exports more products to Canada than anywhere in the entire world. And it sounds great with the Americans until they start seeing inflation. We've seen inflation down in the U.S. I just came back from a meeting in Quebec with 2 governors. They're seeing inflation. We're seeing it in sectors. The auto sector, they're going to see an increase of over $107 billion. Other companies are seeing it. John Deere, they're laying over 280 people off because of tariffs. We're seeing it across every single sector. So it's time to sit down, let's get a deal, or let's start hitting back.
Okay, we'll just leave it there. We won't run the whole exchange. The approach by the Carney negotiating team has been, I think, largely theatrical and about optics when it has come to Canada's counter tariffs and the elbows up that whole thing, because they did impose tariffs. But if you really look at what's going on, most of those tariffs have actually been removed. So I think a lot of that has been window dressing for Canadians and his base of support. And now that they're actually getting into the nitty-gritty of actual negotiations, those tariffs have backed right off. It puts them into more friendly territory as they sit down to talk at the negotiating table. So there's, I think, some real finesse in play that the vast majority of people are not really aware of, and the Canadian team not really speaking much about what's going on in those meetings. Trump is the guy who always just blabs and just makes it all, lays it all out there. But I'm not sure that what he lays out is actually always accurate either. I'm certain it isn't. So there's smoke and mirrors and a lot of games being played. Now we have tonight an investigation in Pickering, Ontario. Police found what appear to be human remains. A construction crew here. I'll bring it up. I don't know how serious this is. I don't know what to make of it, but it seems substantial enough to at least give a mention tonight. And the remains were found actually Monday, but the story just breaking tonight.
A police investigation is underway in Durham region after possible human remains were discovered in Pickering on Monday. Our Rianne Campbell on the efforts by police to identify the victim.
Here behind me, the stretch of road at William Jackson Drive has been closed off on either side in Pickering between Taunton Road West and Earl Grey Avenue. Durham police are currently on scene investigating after possible human remains were found by a construction crew early Monday morning who were originally in the area to complete water main repair work along Taunton Avenue. We spoke with one worker who did not want to appear on camera and says his colleague found a large bone, initially thinking it was part of an animal carcass.
It was a fairly large bone, so we're like, oh, it's probably from a deer. And then one of us said, hey, man, that even looks like a human bone. So he looks up about 8 feet away from him. There's literally a whole human corpse, the whole skeleton.
Back in May, City News spoke with a resident in the area who's been organizing local cleanups for this stretch of road and says parts of William Jackson Drive is a popular illegal dumping ground. Now, police say that this road will be closed for an extended period of time, and we're expecting an update from police sometime this afternoon. In Pickering, Rianne Campbell, City News.
And that is the most recent information that I have on that story. Investigation still ongoing. We'll continue to follow it. I'll keep an eye on it. If there's more in the days ahead, we'll update you. But yeah, that's concerning. Maybe something worth keeping an eye on. What else is going on tonight in the world of news? Well, don't make me talk about them. Don't. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about the ostriches. Not yet, then. Okay, we have a little bit of a delay here. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about Tamara Litch and Chris Barber, at least briefly. Okay, stay with me.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
This was sort of a weird day. Now, it was sentencing day for two of the most prominent people from the Freedom Convoy, Tamar Litch, Chris Barber. Now, they were in court for sentencing. They arrived, bit of a mini media circus out there today as they arrived even beforehand. This is how the day started. This is how weird it was too. I know one of these people. This is a Matt Venn, I believe his name is. He got into a scuffle with somebody else. I don't know who the other person is. There they are. I think it was Matt Venn on the ground. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's not me.
Yeah, Matt Venn. What is that? I don't know what's going on. And then he got arrested, Matthew Venn. Later, they put cuffs on him, and I don't know exactly what's happened to him or what he might have been charged with, but he looked like he was getting the worst of it. So there was that thing. Then they arrived, media circus, blah, blah, blah. They go in, they were sentenced, and both have been given 18-month conditional sentences for their roles in the Freedom Convoy protest. Both Litch and Barber were found guilty back in April on mischief charges. Barber also found guilty of an additional offense of counseling others to disobey a court order. Now, the Crown, I know, was looking for a much more severe sentence. I believe they were looking for something like 8 years in prison. Instead, they have this conditional sentence, 18 months. Basically, you're looking at house arrest, and then at the end of, I think it's 10 months of house arrest or whatever, and then the remaining time they have a curfew of, I believe, 10 p.m. So not nearly as severe as it might have been. And the reaction from a lot of people is somewhat predictable. Depends on what side of the political spectrum you're on. And it looks like there's some talk about the Crown maybe appealing this. Frankly, I think that's unlikely at this point. After all this time, everything that has gone on, the chances of the Crown appealing this ruling on the sentencing, I think it's unlikely. I think this is just going to stick based on what has happened with some of the others like Pat King and their cases and where we're at today and after all this time. So we shall see. Now, back to the ostrich story, because we just can't avoid it, but I have to talk about it because it's, captured the interest of, I think, probably everybody here to one degree or another, regardless of your views on the issue. The reason I draw your attention to it tonight is, let me see here, because mainstream media reporting on something that I actually was reporting on months ago with regard to all of this. Oh, here we go. Yeah. See if I can find the story. Yeah. I told everybody that this farm is in financial distress, has been for some time. As a result, we have creditors lining up, ready to scoop up whatever they can if these ostriches are or are not culled at the end of this entire process to scoop up what they can to recoup what monies are owed them. So guaranteeing orders are sought to intercept government cash in case the Canadian Food Inspection Agency proceeds with the slaughter. This is the CBC reporting on this. We had this information basically, maybe not exactly all the information they have here, but we drew attention to the financial distress months ago in all the investigations that we were doing with regard to this story. It says here, after chasing debts through the courts, creditors of a high-profile ostrich farm in southeastern BC are hoping the Canadian Food Inspection Agency will help them recoup hundreds of thousands of dollars in the event of a call. CFIA wants to destroy more than 300 birds belonging to Universal Ostrich Farms located in Edgewood, BC, nearly 100 kilometers east of Kelowna, because of the threat of avian flu, which was detected in some of the animals last December. As the farm has sought public support and donations for a federal court battle to keep the flock alive, creditors claim the business owners have ignored BC Supreme Court orders to repay debts worth more than $250,000. As a result, two creditors have attempted to guarantee the CFIA in a bid to intercept any compensation issued to the ostrich farm if Canada's top court allows the slaughter to go ahead. And a third says he intends to follow suit. So yeah. Don't know where we would really end up here if the call is called off. I'm not sure where we end up when it is, if it does proceed with regard to the debts, because a lot of money has been raised out there. And the farm owners now have the backing of some very rich, powerful Americanos, including John Catsimatidis out of New York, as we've talked about him before with his media empire, WABC Radio, and his grocery store chain empire in New York State, the biggest in the state, and his oil empire, the biggest purchaser of Alberta oil. And he's got big bucks, and he says that, he's very supportive of the farm, and I think he has offered to pay a lot of the bills. And they've also raised, even in the face of that, $248,000 at last count. I believe that's what's being reported out there. So people donating to save the ostriches. The thing is, at the end of all this, I don't know if the farm will even have possession of the ostriches. I think there's just this preconceived notion that at the end of this whole process, if the call is called off, these birds will instantly go into some sort of research mode, and there will be a research program, and everything will just fall into place. The birds will be spared, and I don't know, everybody's going to run out there and pet the birds or something. People are not thinking this through. So they're out there protesting, and even if they are successful in having the call permanently called off, they may end up being slaughtered anyway, because they're going to fall into somebody's hands. Some people looking to, scoop up some of the birds, if not all the birds, split them up between people who have money owing them. There's, here, look at this. I'll bring this up again. So this report says ostrich oil in lieu of compensation. Cope's clients, Rudy George and Roman Stadler, where together, one of the creditors sued Universal Ostrich Farms last February in relation to a deal that saw the businessman supply the farm with $126,399 worth of ostriches. They claim to have received only $5,000 in return. According to BC Supreme Court documents, another creditor, David Goranson, sued Universal in August 2023 over repayment of a $60,000 loan issued the previous year to fund the operation and expansion of the business. Court documents include emails from 2023 between Goranson and Universal, in which Dave Belinsky, co-owner of the farm, and Karen Esperson, the other co-owner of the farm, claim to, quote, have some really good things going on for the business that will make 2023 a game changer for the farm. As you know, COVID-19 hit us very hard, but we have survived, and the future looks very bright for the ostrich industry, the farm owners wrote. And as I said, we did speak to a farm owner who was also in possession of some ostriches that they took from the farm. And when I did speak to the one owner, that person told me that they were told that this was a unique business opportunity And that may be related to the COVID research and the antigens and all of that stuff. Bottom line is this farm, they've had financial problems all the way along, heading into the pandemic, and then the pandemic presented new business opportunities because of the COVID research. They were kind of trying to cash in on that, from what I gather, but all through all of this, things have been shaky out there. It's a very niche business, and this is not a small operation. This is a big farm, especially by the standards for ostrich operations. According to court filings, in the event of a call, the Health of Animals Act would limit compensation to $3,000 per bird, which is what I've been reporting as well. The CFIA would compensate, in the event of a call, the farm owners by giving them $3,000 per bird. But the scheme is tied to compliance with the CFIA directives that encourage timely cooperation with the agency's disease control measures, which the farm has not done. So by challenging all of this, by going to court, by turning it into a media circus out there, by turning it into a big show, the owners of the farm may actually have forfeited any compensation that the federal government through the CFIA would ultimately offer them. They might get zero at the end of the day, which will just exacerbate their financial problems. But hey, they've got $248,000 in donations from you guys, other people, from the public, not to mention whatever they're going to. And there seems to be other money flowing through, other donation platforms and other people swirling around this whole thing. In any event, we're going to continue to follow it as much as we need to. I'm not talking about it anymore tonight because we've just given it way too much coverage, in my humble opinion. Well, I'm only talking about it because everybody's still so laser focused on it, at least within our little universe here. And the decision from the Supreme Court on whether the appeal to challenge the call from the CFIA will go ahead is pending. It's imminent any day now. We're told. I sort of thought maybe today, but it didn't happen. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. What day is it today? Is it Tuesday today? Yeah. So is it Tuesday? It's October 7th. Yeah, Tuesday. And I think actually, as I contemplate this, Thursday might be the day, because I think that is actually the day when those sorts of things are actually, by that court, tend to be released. Could be tomorrow. I think more likely probably Thursday. But I think also when the call proceeds, if it proceeds, they'll want to do it not on a weekend. They'll want to do it during the week when they have the fewest number of protesters out there as well. And you know who else loves to protest? I mean, adamantly, like heavy duty protesting? My dog, especially when his nails get trimmed. Cosmo. So I found this. I have to figure out a way to get him to cooperate when we trim his nails, because I love animals. I love my dog. So I found this online. This guy has a unique trick for trimming nails. Does anybody out there have any suggestions on how I can get my dog to remain calm, not freak out, and rip my face off as I try to trim his nails? I'm going to look in the chat. Anybody? Arthur Clark says, I think it was reported, Rick, that they turned down compensation for the birds. I don't think that's quite accurate, Arthur. I could check that, but I think what's really happened is like I described. If you challenge it, if you don't comply and cooperate in a timely fashion, the government is then not really, they're not obligated to provide the compensation. If you cooperate, they do give it to you, to a max of $3,000 per bird. That's the policy. So we'll see. Dragon Ian says, I'm not a trimmer. Jubilee says, I have an idea, Rick. Lay it on me. I need all the help I can get. Cindy says, my cat hates when I trim his nails. He meows. And Linda says, sanding board with treats under the board. Sanding board with treats under the board. I'm going to have to call you and get very specific instructions on that, Linda. I put a muzzle on my dogs when nailed. That's a good idea because he does not like it. Although I have him very calm for baths now. He actually will jump in the tub and he's a little skittish still, but surprisingly, if I'm really gentle with him and I talk really nice, he'll sit there while I give him a bath and suds them all up. And at the end, he kind of likes it. Cindy, I never trimmed my dog's nails, but my cat, I do trim his nails. He is not happy though. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this guy does. This is pretty ingenious. I have one problem with it. Watch what happens with this guy. It's pretty smart. I don't know what that is. It's putting on his head. Stuff that the dog likes. I like it. The dog likes it. But see, I have way too much. So if I just put it in there, the dog would lick it out of my hair too. Cosmo would do that, but be all goopy and sticky, and I don't know what it is he put on his head. It's funny. Well, guys, that being said and shown, thanks for the tips on nail trimming. I'm going to be talking to Linda to find out more about the sanding board option with the treats. And I'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom and running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his path. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.